Hey everyone, this is Anna here. I decided to just make a mini tutorial for Cuerda Seca because on this vase here, it was just a simple design just in the front that I decided to sketch at the last minute before I glazed, and it worked out. So this is one of my favorite pieces that came out of the kiln last week, and I believe I showed this piece, but I just wanted to show you how I painted. And I'm sorry that sometimes my hand was kind of like in the way. It's kind of hard to know that without seeing the camera, if I'm covering the focal point or not. But as you see here, some places my hand was just in front of the camera, but you get the idea. Also, I started slow and then I increased the speed on the video just because so it wouldn't be so long. And I decided to use the Cuerda Seca mixture, which is oil and black iron oxide is what I use. I could have used the Sharpie, the oil-based Sharpie, to make the design, and that acts like a resist, just like the oil. The thing with the Sharpie is that it burns off during the glaze firing, so you're left with the color of the clay, which in this case, it would still work because it would just be like this clay fires to a dark maroon color, like a dark red. So it would still be okay, but I wanted it to be almost black, and that's what using the oil with the black iron oxide, it becomes like a brown black color, not completely black. So I wanted the contrast. And here I'm doing those little dashes on his face, and when I was glazing, I actually covered it thinking that it was going to show. Sometimes it does that. You glaze over the lines, and sometimes it shows through during the firing. The glaze separates from the oil. But in this case, it didn't. So I don't know if it is the clay that I used, but usually it does that sometimes because they're so small. So it's very, it would take me a long time to kind of glaze around those little dashes. I was able to do it around the feathers the way I'm showing you right here. And I'm usually pretty good about not touching the oil, but as you can see here, I touched accidentally with my pinky. I touched the oil and then it smeared in other places, as you see right at the bottom, kind of at the bottom on the center of the bird. And here I had already cleaned. So the way I do, if something like that happens, you just grab some cloth or paper towel and wet it with rubbing alcohol, or maybe even acetone might work too. It just takes the oil. So you rub on the area that you messed up, that you smeared the oil with the oxide, and then it comes off. It doesn't come off completely, but the oil comes off so that when you glaze over that, it won't show. So that's how you can kind of wipe. As you can see, you can still see a little bit, but it's no longer oily. So I could glaze over that. Also, another way that I do is with the glaze, if the glaze gets on the lines that you don't want, on unwanted areas, you can wait until it dries, and then I use a diamond core graffito tool to scrape off the glaze when it dries, or you can use anything that is sharp like a knife, an X-Acto knife, or a little needle tool to scrape off the glaze. Anyways, here I tried something a little different because I wanted a contrast, one of feathers to show like almost like a shadow. This parrot had red and yellow feathers on the front. And so I use the red underneath the feathers, and then I use the yellow. And sorry that I was recording this part that I changed the glaze to the yellow, and then I had it in photo and not in video. So I'm sorry that I didn't record the yellow, using the yellow glaze, which is Sunkissed is what I used. And I also use Dandelion, which is a warmer yellow. So I used both yellow, the Sunkissed and Dandelion. And then I use, as you can see here, the green is Leaping Lizard, which is one of my favorites. And these are all Stroke and Coats, by the way. Is what I use for Cuerda Seca because they are very stable glazes. Although on red clay, this one is Aardvark Terra Red clay. It's a very smooth clay, very nice to throw. But the glazes do run a little bit more on red clay for some reason. That's what I found that it does that. Just like on porcelain, it also that happens as well. It runs, so they're not as stable as in other stoneware clay bodies. Here you can see that I try to feather the colors so they're not so harsh, separating one color to the other. I use a little brush just to, before they dry, I kind of blend the colors so that you don't see the lines. They're very well blended. Here, I'm adding some green on top of the feathers because these are the wings have more green, just like on the other side. I added a little bit of green also. So in the front, he's mostly red with yellow. Around the eyes, it got a little darker. So I used the Tutu Tango, is the red that I used. And then it goes really well with the yellow. And then his eyes, I used blue Yonder for the blue and black inside the pupil. The beak I used, as you saw earlier, I used white and black, and then I kind of blended in with the brush as well. Here is what I told you. I use a sgraffito tool to scrape off the glaze where I didn't want it. It went a little bit over the line, and that's about it. The glaze did go over some of the feathers lines that I did, but it's okay. I wasn't too worried about it because I made several of those to kind of look like the feathers on his chest. And you can see that I went over those little dashes on his face, and that I was okay with that. So now what I like to do around my design is I use another color that is similar to the glaze that I would use on the whole piece. So I decided to use Robin's Egg, which is a Laguna glaze, kind of like a teal color. And I decided to use Blue Isle, which is a similar color. And the reason why I do that, it's because it is a stable glaze. I like to put it all around my design so that it kind of protects the other glaze from running. It prevents from running over my design. It helps with that. So I do like a band of about maybe a quarter of an inch or so, an eighth of an inch around the whole design using the bottle. And then after that, I don't need to use the bottle applicator anymore. I just brush like you would glaze, anything else with a brush. But this technique works out pretty well. And this is a very simple way of decorating a piece because it's just one simple design. Like for a vase like this, usually when you set it in a place, you're looking at the front. So that's why I decided to do it. If I had chosen to add more like leaves and to make the real tropical scene, then that would have taken me forever. But I wanted something quick, and I think I got what I envisioned. Here is, I say, 3 coats is what I used. Even though I'm only showing here one coat of the robin's egg, but I did do 3 coats is what it needs, because you can see that that's really thin. Also, I was like running out of the glaze, so I really need to buy another one, because this is one of my favorite glazes. It's very pretty, especially you see at the end, especially on this red clay. It was just beautiful. And you see the review. And look at that. It has almost like a mirror finish afterwards. And on this one, on this red clay, it shows the iron from the clay shows through the glaze. So I couldn't be any happier with this piece. So thanks so much for watching, and please like and subscribe and share. Thank you so much.